Over the last few months, I've put more and more animals on my small plot of Tassie land.
Great.
All part of learning how to produce food for myself.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I've done my best to give them healthy, free-range lives. And I've reaped delicious rewards along the way.
Looks amazing.
But I reckon it's time to head off the farm again for a bit of adventure.
Put him up, and then forward. Have a look at that. Magnificent.
My name is Matthew Evans. I was Sydney's most feared food critic. Now, I've given up city life and moved here to country Tasmania. I've always dreamed of producing my own food so I can know and trust what I eat. The only problem is, I don't know how to chop wood, I don't know anything about growing plants, and I have absolutely no idea about rearing animals. But I do know how to eat. Everything else I'll have to learn from scratch. How hard can it be?
So my farm's full of animals, but there's another way to get meat, which involves a pretty controversial technique. Ross is taking us feral deer hunting.
Ross is my market stall business partner, but he's also an experienced rifleman and an excellent shot.
There we go.
It might seem brutal, but wild deer are a pest in Tasmania, and some properties, like this one, invite licensed hunters to help keep numbers down.
Disengaged.
I'm not sure that I'd want to do that very often, but the reality is that if we want to eat meat, an animal has to die. Hanging meat for a few days, or even weeks, makes it more tender, as enzymes break down the structure, and it also makes it taste better. I just need to get it out of reach of our local carnivorous marsupial, the quoll.
That was really hard work. It's high enough, I think, off the ground for quolls, and I don't think anything can get across the branches at it. But we'll have to, I'll check on it every day. It's on the south side of the hill, no sun, Tassie winter, so hopefully it'll be fine for the next week or so. Can't wait to try it.
If only I knew how to butcher it. The sun goes down early at this time of year, and there's not much happening on the farm. So my mate Nick, the cheesemaker, has invited us to meet him in Hobart for a wee tipple. The Lark Distillery is a Tasmanian institution and known around the world for its single malt whisky, which founder Bill Lark has been making since 1989.
And you look like you need something to warm you up, and I've got just the thing for you. I better pour a dram that'll fix you up.
Thank you.
This has come from an old port barrel, so it's got the richness. The port barrel was shaved and then recharred. Beautiful French oak, so you're getting some of that lovely oak tannin.
So it tastes amazingly complex, but it's actually pretty simple in terms of the ingredients.
Well, by law, it sounds like it shouldn't be complex because you're only allowed to use the malted barley, yeast and water. We peat smoke our barley to give the whisky a sweetness and a subtle smokiness that's just to our liking.
Where do you actually distill it?
We've got a lovely little property about 5 minutes away from Hobart, but if you've got a few minutes, we've got our original still just up here in these premises, which we still use.
Yeah, I'd love
we
to
might
see.
go and have a look at that.
Is that the one you first had legally, or before you got...
That was our first legal one. Well, there it is, Philip.
What a beautiful thing.
This is our original commercial still. It's a 500-litre copper pot still. But quite simply, we buy our malt from Cascade Brew, beautiful malt, brewing malt, which is very important to our whisky.
Yeah.
We get the peat from our peat bog up in the Central Highlands, and we have a process of smoking that malted barley. We then brew as if you're making a traditional beer. We add our British ale yeast to that. And then it's double distilled in the stills.
The peat bog, so it's up in the mountains in...
In fact, if you put your finger on a map of Tassie, right in the middle, where you think the middle of Tassie is, Brown Marsh Bog, and that's our bog, and we get the peat from there. In fact, the trout season opens in a week. Yeah. I don't know if you're interested. I mean, you're probably very busy farmers.
I'd like to go.
Are we interested?
If you're inviting us.
Yeah, I've never been. It's something I always wanted to do.
I'd love to show you the peacock, and I'd love to show you how to catch trout.
Well, it didn't take much convincing. A week later, we're on the road for a Highlands adventure. We'll end up deep in the mountains in trout territory. But along the way, we've got a couple of other adventures in mind. We're going to be shown exactly what to do with our dead deer by a 6th-generation Tassie farmer. But first, at a top-secret location just north of the Highlands, there's a man and his dog who'll take us on a hunt for a very pricey prize. But I reckon it's worth every dollar.
Hey, Peter.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, thanks.
Who's this?
This is Ockie.
Hey, Ockie. Oh, good day for it.
A lovely day. Typical winter's day to go harvesting truffles.
Peter Cooper and a mate brought truffle cultivation to Australia some 12 years ago. And this is one of their fledgling forests that now produce black truffles to rival the French and Italians.
Truffle has a living, like a symbiotic relationship or something with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. It forms a physical connection with the root system of the tree.
Can any dog be taught to find a truffle?
Yeah, pretty much. It's relatively easy to train the dog to find a truffle.
Yeah.
The difficult part is getting the dog to find truffle after truffle after truffle.
Right. And what's the deal with pigs? I've heard about pigs in France or somewhere collecting truffles. Is that just a myth, or is that...
Oh no, if you look at the constitution of a truffle, there are pheromones that are given off by a truffle that supposedly represent that given off by boar. Yes, good boy, good boy.
It doesn't take Ockie long to sniff out some buried treasure.
Do you want to smell that first before we dig?
Yeah, love to.
Okay, we'll put your nose about there.
Smells like dirt.
Sweet dirt, Matt. There's just the top of the truffle, just there.
That's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, very obvious to you.
That little knob there
Yeah.
is the edge of the truffle.
It's looking good, isn't it?
So is that like an average size?
Yeah, it looks like a nice truffle.
There she goes.
Oh, have a smell of that, huh?
Oh, it's great.
But it's this extraordinary fragrance that puts truffles amongst the most prized foods in the world.
That's an incredible aroma. It's really beautiful. I can't describe it.
There's nothing else like it, is there?
No.
Like that's the thing about a truffle, is that once you've smelt truffles and you are familiar with the perfume, then you immediately know what it is. But very difficult to
Describe.
Yeah, it smells like a truffle. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. Find it. Where is it? Find it.
Until about 10 years ago, the only truffles you could get in Australia were imported from France, and you could only get them in the French winter. What we've got now is real truffles harvested here in our winter, and they're worth a fortune.
There it is.
Just like that.
Just like that.
It's a really strange thing to watch a bunch of grown men sitting around giggling and smelling something. Yeah, a little black muddy thing. But yeah, once you do it, you know why.
In the next hour, we find nearly a dozen truffles of all shapes and sizes,
Yeah.
each with its own distinct and intoxicating perfume.
You reckon a dead deer in the car?
Right.
Truffles would go all right with that?
Oh, I reckon you'd have a wonderful time.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's get that one.
All right. Fix you up for that?
Yeah.
All that's left is to hand over wads of cash. At about $150 a piece, it's a very expensive habit.
No, I'll hold it. This is the very expensive truffle slicer.
More truffles than venison.
You get the flavour of the venison first and then the truffle.
With the truffle aroma safe and sound, we're heading south to the Central Highlands. Where in not-so-sunny Bothwell, we'll meet a 6th-generation Tasmanian. John Bignell has been farming deer for 20 years, so he should know exactly what to do with our beast.
Bignell! Here you are at last.
Nice to see you.
Right. So you got me a deer? Yeah, we've got one in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Good. I'd love to see that.
We'll grab it out.
Yeah, I know. Right. Who shot this? I did.
Ross dropped it.
Ross the big game hunter. Let's take it round the back and hang it up, will we?
I'll throw it over my shoulder then.
Oh, yeah. There's the back leg. That's it.
Well done.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's less than a year old. It's a buckthorn, we call them.
Same as lamb in terms of, you know, you could roast the hind legs.
Yeah, one this small, you could sort of roast the whole thing. People will get an older deer and roast the whole leg. And of course it's got about 4 different muscles in it, including silverside and so on. And part of it will be tough. Part of it needs long, slow cooking. Part of it needs a quick sear.
Okay, so it works for us because we're going to take it one cut off and do it quickly. All right.
Right, let's get into it.
John's quite an expert at breaking down deer and picking the best cuts.
So I'm going to break this up into the muscles in the back leg. So there is the shank. There's the rump, and that's the silver side, obviously. That's my preference, that one.
Yeah.
The top side?
Top side is better than I prefer it than the back strap.
Why?
Just juicier and just as tender.
Yeah.
Just as tender, and if you'll buy it, it's half the price. Right to go, there's lunch.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, follow me. Oh no, we need a fire first. Could use the flamethrower technique. Here we go. Oh yeah, that'll go now.
Where's the horseradish?
Up in the shearing shed. Let's go and get that.
John's horseradish should be a good match for the venison, but I'm worried it could clash with my truffle, which will need a little cleaning up before it goes anywhere near the meat.
A good scrub, and then we can shave it over the top of the venison. Looks like a good one. I think the slugs like the best ones.
Could you get a bigger toothbrush?
You seen one of those before?
No, I haven't. No. Wow,
Truffle.
That's strange, isn't it?
I love it. It's so primeval. The best description I've ever heard is it's a mixture of earth and death and sex all rolled into one. So it's kind of probably the sexiest thing ever is smelling a truffle. Yeah. Sweet spot.
We warm up.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
So the secret is it should go... If it doesn't go, it's probably not hot enough.
Lean venison like this is best served rare and doesn't need long on the hot plate.
Yeah, do you want to be the boss of this, John? Or are you going to tell me when I'm ready?
Yeah, let's have a look on the one.
On this one?
First one. Whoa.
Heavy?
That looks great.
So you can imagine if you had a huge piece of meat, something this hot, you're going to be burnt on the outside by the time it's warm in the middle.
Horseradish is a pretty strong flavour to pair with truffles. How do you reckon it'll go?
No idea.
We're going to
Not
find out.
terrible.
Yeah, right.
They're the 2 local ingredients we managed to get hold of, so...
Why don't we do horseradish on these and truffle on the backstrap?
Yeah, that's the one.
All right.
Beautiful.
A minute to rest, a drizzle of oil, and we're ready to go. The truffle has turned great venison into an unforgettable meal,
It's a very expensive truffle slicer.
and a splash of local Shiraz should wash it down nicely.
Wow.
You get the flavour of the venison first and then the truffle
Follows.
in the back of your throat. It's so... It's almost armpity.
But for the final word, let's ask the expert.
Was this a good one? Have we done
Yeah,
the right
that's
thing?
as good as it gets. Yes.
As good as it gets?
Yes.
And what about with
tender.
what about with the truffle?
Fantastic.
Well, I've never had trouble before in my life.
Oh, you haven't? Is it any good or is it overrated?
Yeah, no. Unusual is the word, isn't it?
In a good way? In a sort of a sexy way. Horseradish is great.
Well, yeah, we can do you a price.
Straight swap.
Yep, now.
Truffle and fresh horseradish on venison is not a bad start to our Highlands adventure, but the afternoon holds an even earthier flavour still. And there's naught earthier than a peat bog deep in the mountains, which is where we'll find Bill Lark. Peat is ancient, slow-decaying plant matter. It's probably been gathering here for thousands of years, and apparently it's just what Bill needs to flavour his whiskey.
G'day.
Ah, g'day. Hello. About time you got here, mate. Nice to see you. Yeah, good to see you. This is
Look at
incredible.
you.
Matthew.
You dressed for the weather?
I'm here uniquely, mate.
This is what a peat bog looks like. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, this is it. This is the thing that surprises everybody, but it's very important to me, Matthew. This is what I need for the whiskey. This is how I can get the sweetness and the smokiness into the whiskey. Traditionally, they used to dry the green barley over a peat fire in Scotland because that was their only fuel source. So what we've done is we get our malt and we've developed a technique for actually dampening it down and drying it again using this very peat.
So how big?
72 hectares in all. And don't ask me how deep, because I'm not real sure, but I think it goes down a fair way.
Yeah, and this is enough peat to last you for a couple of years?
This will last me about 5 to 10,000 years, conservatively. You're lucky today it's really quite soft and not too hard for you, Matthew. But the art is just to work your way along the face, dig the spade in, bring it up underneath the peat, and don't do what I'm about to do and drop it. Oh, there we go.
Oh, you got it.
Lovely bit of peat.
So what I don't get is how are we going to burn something
That looks like
that's completely soaked in water?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, it will dry out a little bit, and what we don't want is for it to burn fiercely. We just want a nice, delicate, slow heat. We just want to impart some sweetness
So it's
into
like
it.
wetting sawdust.
That's
I've heard
it.
of doing that when you
Yep,
smoke.
yep,
We
same,
do that.
same thing. Well, let's grab a couple of pieces.
Yep,
It smells really mossy, doesn't it?
that bit does, yeah.
It smells like a hobbit. Really looking forward to trying your whiskey.
I think we should do that very soon.
For it, isn't it? It's a bit Highlands.
This is just the day for it.
The weather's not getting any better, so it's off to the lakeside shack for a little more medicinal whiskey to insulate us through the cold Highlands night.
You got that fire going? Yeah. Thanks, mate.
It's great.
Good on you.
But an hour ago we were standing in the peat that this was.
That it was smoked over.
Isn't that fantastic?
We were. Well,
Yeah.
Slange. Slange bar.
And that means?
Good health.
This is seriously smoked over the peat that we were...
Seriously smoked over the very peat that we got from the peat bog, yeah. That just gives that sweetness, and then right at the back you get that lovely little smoky finish.
How long does it take to make something like that? Is it?
You really wouldn't want to leave this any longer in these small casks than 5.5 years. But we've had distillers from Scotland have a look at our whiskey and say this reminds them of a 10 or a 12-year-old whiskey in the bigger barrels. And that peat, that subtle peat comes right through that whole process. But it's fantastic to be sitting around a fire up at the lakes.
I was dreaming of this when we were up in the peat bog, I've got to be honest. Here's to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
here's to you fellas for coming up and
Very good
helping
job.
out.
And
Cheers, mate.
as they say, tight lines tomorrow.
This is the most remarkable location. There's black swans all through the water. It's just gorgeous.
Early the next morning, and I'm wishing I'd had a little less whiskey the night before.
It's a fairly bleak, cold, rainy morning. Gorgeous, but I'm not sure if we'll get fish. We'll give it a go.
Bill's been fishing this lake for years, so with a bit of luck, hopefully his expertise will rub off.
G'day, Nick. How you going, mate?
That's an awesome looking bunch of fellas you've got with you today, Bill.
Yeah, no, Mark's a mate of mine, and for those who might not have recognised it yet, Mark's actually a gun fisherman. He's the bloke most likely to catch a fish.
You have surprised me. I thought I'd be the only one out here this morning.
All right, fellas, well, Nick's out fishing, and we might just leave him quietly at it for the moment, but we'll get started.
With sunglasses on for safety, a quick casting lesson is in order before I'm set loose on the lake's trout using a woolly bugger as bait.
Let's just get used to the action of casting, and it's bringing the rod up to about 12 o'clock straight above you, waiting for a fraction of a second till the line goes back. Try and keep him up, and then forward. Up, wait, forward.
Time to put theory into practice.
This is the most remarkable location. There's black swans all through the water, mist. Some of these trees and the lichen and the moss. It's like an ancient forest, even though it's probably not that ancient. It's just gorgeous. How you going, Nick? Any sign of anything?
No, but it's pretty beautiful just being here.
It's good, isn't it?
But almost doesn't matter if we don't catch one. Almost.
We're out of luck today. The fish must be in deeper waters. But I wouldn't swap the experience for quids.
Okay, so you got all the fish on your back?
Yeah, about as many as you got, I reckon. That was
Well-
brilliant, apart from the lack of fish.
Well, just in case, and I had kind of anticipated we might have had just the day we did, I actually snuck a little fish back at the shack that we might put on that meat
Oh,
smoker.
fantastic. One you caught before, or?
Found one that fell off the back of a truck.
That sounds good.
Here's a little fish that I prepared earlier.
You only got the smallest of the ones I caught, I think.
Yeah, this is just a tiddler, but this is a rainbow trout, and this will just smoke up beautifully. Because we've got the smoker going out here, I think to get the best out of this fish, I think we should fillet it. Ross, they tell me you're a bit of a dab hand with a boning knife.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
So while Ross gets to filleting, it's time to turn the heat up on the smoker.
This is some of that peat you dug. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful smoke. That's sweet.
It's almost spicy. This smells like my childhood. I haven't smelt this smell since I was in Ireland. Like I can actually see the place we stayed and the horse and cart that was digging peat, because they used to cook on peat there. It's so rich. It smells a bit like pipe tobacco.
Smoked fish is usually cured first, and Bill's using brown sugar and his own pepperberry liqueur.
Hey, we need some for the fish.
Yeah, tell me about it.
These pepperberries, they're a little bush that grow around up in the highlands here. They've got a little berry that's a dark aubergine colour. When you distill it, that just produces what we call a spirit of warmth and spice, and that tang of the chili hot pepper.
Cool.
I think we better just
Get the fish on.
salute the fish and then get it on quickly.
Yeah.
How's that?
Should we get this on? Does this whole thing go in?
Yeah, that whole thing, we can just slip that straight in.
Did you get your fingers caught in the sides?
Yeah. If you
right.
smoke your fingers, let me know.
Yep.
You see how well that's smoking? That's just fantastic.
And how long have we got now?
We've probably got another 2 or 3 drinks. Oh, about 20 minutes should do.
20 minutes.
Just nicely.
Oh, wow.
Have a look at that. You right?
Magnificent. You got the spatula.
Here you go, mate.
That smells beautiful.
And you know what I've got?
Oh, this is from your truffle.
From our truffle forage.
Yeah.
Sneaky. Yeah. I'm going to go make a truffle butter. and I'll
to dig that up when no one was looking.
Truffles and fish don't usually go together, but I'd like to give it a go.
I've actually got some of my own butter, and I want to make a little truffle butter. And I'm really interested to see what it's like with trout. So it's just a matter of getting as much aroma and beautiful flavour out of the truffle as possible. Wow. Oh, this one's for me. Just try to lift the aroma a bit. You have quite enough butter to really make it decadent.
This is your first truffle?
First truffle.
First truffle. New experiences for everybody. Great.
The smoke
That's amazing,
just comes through without dominating it.
doesn't it? I was thinking that long in the smoke is going to be really strong, but it's
It's not. That's a good thing about
remarkably
peat.
no.
That's beautiful.
It's a little bit like what we try to do with our whiskey, get that balance of all those components.
Yeah.
The wood,
Yeah.
the malt, the peat, and it's happening here with this.
One of the things I wanted to do when I moved to Tassie was eat and drink stuff that was produced by myself or people who I met or knew. And this meal is pretty much spot on the money. The butter I've used is from my Jersey cow. The truffles from up north where we were foraging for truffles. The fish is almost caught by one of us and smoked by you. And no fish, but doesn't really matter. I loved it. I love being out there.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excuse to stand in a stunning location, really.
We'll have to invite ourselves back, I think.
I think you're welcome back any time.
Oh, looks like the sun's come out.
Yeah, we'll need that sunscreen any minute.
Yep.
Cassoulet.
Next time,
4 hours.
the market stall is going gangbusters,
Bastille Day.
but I hatch a plan for an illegal lunch to spread the word a little further. Hopefully this will be a lunch that no one can ever experience in any other way.
And it's illegal probably because you shouldn't air dry stuff where your dog can get to it.
You want a bit of